Tina from the Scrappin Rabbit blog, and it's my day to post over on the Stamp Anything blog. And so I decided that I wanted to use this adorable Kelsey Believe stamp. I've had her in my stash for a while, but have not had a chance to play with her. And so I thought this was a good time to bring her out and to get her on a card. I also used the Under the Sea dies, but I didn't use them obviously for sea. I used them for just the grasses, and I think it turned out really cute. Let me show you what I made. So here is my card, and I think that she turned out so cute, and she is so sparkly as well. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I had a lot of fun putting her together, and I went ahead and I did record it, so I have a process video for you to share. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is ink her on up in my stamping tool to get her stamped. And since I've never stamped her before, it's going to take me a couple times to get her on there because she is brand new. And so I'm going to go ahead and use that tool. And the ink that I'm using is this Extreme Black from My Favorite Things. And because it is a hybrid ink, I am going to go ahead and heat set it just so that when I'm coloring her up with my Copics, I don't get any smearing. So I'm going to start out doing her skin, and I'm going to use my go-to colors. First I'm going to use the E000 and just kind of wet the paper up a little bit. And then I'm going to go dark to light, starting with my E11 around the frame of her face towards the top where I think that she'll have shadows. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the E21 to blend that out a little bit, adding it underneath her little flower garland around her little hair. And then I'm going to buff that out with the E00, bringing that color on down, and then blending it out again with the E000, giving it another layer of color. And I'm hoping to get some more Copic colors so that I can experiment with some new skin tones. But here are the cheeks, and I like to use the R20 and the R30. So I start out with the R20, the darker one, and then I just buff it out with the R30. Then I'm going to go over it with the E000 to blend that into her face and her chin. And then I do a second color, which is what I like to do. The second coating is what gives it that nice layer and also helps things to pop a little bit more. I went in with the E13 just to give a line of darker shadow, and then just underneath it I'm going to go back in with the E11 and then the E21, basically doing the same exact thing that I did initially, but giving it a second coating, so to speak. Buffing it out again with the E000, and then that gives it a nice skin tone with that double layer. Makes her so cute. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same with her arms and her knees and her legs and her neck, going in with the E13 to give it a little bit of the dark shadow, just a real thin line of that. Then the E11, blending that out a little bit with the E21. And this is just going to be on the lower portions where there's going to be more of a shadow. And I almost forgot her neck there. And so I'm going to go in with the E00, which will be the main color. And then finally the E000, just like with her face. It's going to be more of the highlight going down the front of her legs and the top part of her arms. And these are little tiny areas, but using the multiple colors I really do believe make a difference. I can definitely visually see more depth. I'm going to go in with that E11 just to give it a little bit more of the shadows to make those colors pop, and then just a little bit of the E00 to remove any harsh lines. And now that I'm done with her skin, I'm going to go back over it with the highlight color one more time. Now I'm done with her skin. I'm going to do her tongue, and I'm using the E17 and the E14. And for the mushroom, I'm going to go in with some of my E40s for the stem, starting with the darkest, which I am using right now, the E43, buffing it out with the E42 and then the E41. And then I felt like I didn't really have a lot of color, so It's the first time I'm coloring her up, so I'm just figuring it out. I'm going to go in with the E50 towards the very edges and the front of the mushroom, and then going back in with the E43, giving it that second layer again, buffing it out with the E42, and then the E41, and then the E50. And then for the red part of the mushroom, I'm going to start with the E29, going over just the outline of the mushroom, the top and towards the bottom. I'm going to use the E27, I think that is. I thought I was putting the caps up, but I think I forgot. Sometimes I get lost in the coloring and I forget that the camera is going, and so I forget to put the tops up. So there's the R14, the lightest color, so I'm going to buff that out a little bit. And then going in with that second layer to make the colors pop a little bit more. That is the R29, going over that darkest layer, and then again buffing it out with the E27, the R17 and the R14, giving it nice layers of color. I wanted it to pop a little bit more, so I'm using the darkest red there, and I think it is the 59, and then going back over around doing another layer with the red. Now I wanted the bottom to pop a little bit more, so I grabbed my E44 again, adding some little darker edges in there to have it add a little bit more dimension. I think that that makes it definitely pop a little bit more and has more shadows, just like adding that darker red. For her hair, I like to take the lightest color just to kind of give me an idea of the centering is, so that I know to work towards that center. So I did that with the E30. Then I'm going to go in with strands of hair using the E31. And I do rotate my picture a lot because I think that that helps with the flicking motion, and keeping your flicks in one direction I think is more consistent. And sometimes I do both directions, but turning the paper I think really helps. Going in with the next medium dark is the 55, and then the hair starts to come together. This is one of my favorite hair combos, and always working the darkest and then the lightest in the center. So the darkest around the edges, flicking towards the lightest areas in the center. And so that's the E55. And then she has that braid on there. And then now the very darkest color is the E57. So I'm going to use this quite sparingly, more to have that pop or that contrast of the dark to the light. And so this is going to be just around the edges. And so I'm going to work my way on the top and the bottom of her little floral headband there. And then once I have all that, the 57, I will go ahead and do the 55 to buff that out a little bit. Bring some more of that color towards the center highlight area. And I color really slow, so I have this on I think 2.5 times speed, because otherwise we'll be here all day with me coloring. And so there is the E55, and then I'm going to go to the lightest color again, the E31, get rid of any of those harsh lines, bring the color towards the center highlight area, and then just give it a little touch with that E30, the very lightest color. And so now I'm just going to fix the little tail of her braid there and give it a little more depth with that the layers of color, and buff it out. And then I continue to fuss with it because that's just how I am. I don't know how people can just boom, 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 go through and color so quickly and then have it look perfect. It doesn't work that way for me. I have to keep messing with it and going in and I think it does make a difference with the layers of color for me personally, but I do wish that I could be one of those faster colors. I'm just not. And then sew through the same process until I feel like it looks the way I want. And now I'm going to do the grass. I have my YGs. I have 3 different YGs. The 17, the 13, and I think it's the 11. And just to give a little trio of greens there in the grass. And then I realize that I have that little spot of the mushroom that I need to go in. And then now that's done, I can go back in with some more color, adding some more layers to the grass. And once I have the darkest color, I add the little shadows. I'm going to move to her shirt. And I'm going to use a Spectrum Noir LV1. That is going to be my 3rd color in this violet combo to have her shirt. And I'm going to use the V12 and then the very lightest, the V01. And so I find myself pulling my Spectrum Noir markers out every now and then when I'm lacking in colors with my Copics. And then I'm going to go in and do a 2nd layer. Blend that out again, and then have that lightest color in the center. And then I'm going to do her shoes with the same trio and do the dark with the light in the very center. And then again with her hairband, with her the little stars and flowers, I'm going to do some purples as well and add a little pink with the RV10. And I know that I'm going to be adding a lot of sparkle to that, so I didn't really want to do too many different colors because the area is so tiny. And then with her wings, I'm going to go in with that BV. I think it was the 000. Again, I forgot to put my marker down. Oh, BV00. And then the V000. Add some really light lavenders and purples in her wing, just to give it a little delicate touch. I'm reaching for my Spectrum Noir sparkle marker, and I'm going to add sparkle all over her wings, which I think is so pretty, making them look so delicate. And then I'm also going to add some of that sparkle to her hairband, going across the front of it. And then just for some contrast, I'm going to add some of this jelly roll, this glittery lavender colored jelly roll. And then I do have these Nouveau glitter markers, and I'm going to add a rosy pink to the centers of the bigger flowers there, just to give it some nice sparkle. Now I'm going to add some white dots with my jelly roll. And then I did make a cloud stencil using the Stamp Anything dies, and I'm going to use the Tim Holtz Distressed ink, the tumbled glass, along with my little sponge. And I'm going to go ahead and create a background, a cloud background. And I'm just going to work from the bottom up and then just dabbing some of the color. Since this is going to be the bottom of my card, I'm just buffing that out a little bit because I don't want clouds on the ground. And then I'm going to go up with the next layer. So I just kind of move my way from the bottom up, adding in some color. And then I did use the die to cut that stencil out twice. That way that gives me some options with the shapes of the clouds, because you don't want it to be symmetrical and you don't want every layer to look the same. So this way I can move across the top of my made stencil to have different areas being covered so that the clouds look so that there's not too much uniformity with that, because you do want the clouds to be different. And then finally that top layer, I'll go ahead and ink that up as soon as I find my stencil placement, how I want it. And I just love the way that that looks. I'm really finding myself wanting to do more cloud backgrounds. So there you go. I'm going to use the Jaded Blossom Spring dies, and I cut out the grass, and I'm also going to use those little under the sea cuts to make some grasses. So for that grass, I'm just going to add some adhesive with my ATG gun glue down that grass, and I just kept the adhesive towards the bottom so that I could tuck in on the top of the grass. And then I'm just going to trim that with my scissors. And since the top part of the grass is open, I can tuck the little bushes and the grasses behind it. And now I'm just trying to figure out where I want everything to go, so I'm just laying it down to get an idea so that I can map it out and know how I want my card to be. So I just use some of my Zig 2-way glue gun to tuck in the little die cuts with my tweezers. I could not craft without those tweezers. They help me with everything that I do pretty much. So I'm just tucking those grasses behind and kind of filling in that area before I put my little girl down. And then I'm using this frame die from Gina Marie Designs, and I'm going to add some foam tape to the frame as well as little Kelsey. But first I'm going to stamp the sentiment Believe. I did stamp and emboss that. I heat embossed it. And now I'm going to adhere it to the front of this top folding card. I'm going to center it the best that I can just by eyeballing. And then I'm going to add some adhesive foam to both the image as well as the frame. And that's how I'm imagining it's going to look. So once I get all of the backing off of the tape, then I will go ahead and put the card together. So there she is, and then the frame gonna go right over the top. And then we're getting really close to finishing this card here. Now I feel all that's missing is a little bit more sparkle, so I'm going to use some of this medium matte glue. I just use it on my scratch paper, and with my tweezers I'm going to dip the sequins into the glue to get them adhered to the front of my card. Now I'm just messing with where I want those sequins to go. I'm going to do a little placement here. And then once I figure that out, all I have to do is grab my tweezers and dip those suckers in that little glue and lay them down. I always have scratch paper on my desk for purposes such as this. And there are my sequins getting put on my card. And once I have that last sequin down, I am finished. And there it is. So that is my project and my process video to share with you guys today. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you liked my card. I hope you liked my video. And thanks again, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Happy crafting. Bye.